Oh my goodness, daily inserts are literally a game changer if you need to hold yourself accountable for getting things done. In today's planner flip, I'm going to show you the daily inserts that I've just been trying out, what worked, what didn't quite work, and what I'm now testing to see if that's going to help to move the needle in the right direction. Let's get to it. I used to think that I didn't really need daily inserts as a mum of 3 who worked from home. I just felt like my days weren't really full enough to warrant having an entire page dedicated to just one day. But I'm beginning to think they could become my, I guess, productivity secret weapon. They may become my #1 tool in terms of getting things done. So this is my current planner. It's a Filofax Malden in the colour Ochre. Now inside, in order to test out these daily inserts, I have decided to completely strip everything back. Like pretty much everything has gone other than like all of my sections. I've taken out all of the sections and I've only brought back a few key things. So I've got my, where should we start? We do a quick tour of the front setup before we go into the sections. So again, as you can see, this entire thing is just pared back. I've got some task cards, which to be honest, seemed like a great idea, but I don't even use them. So I'm thinking that I will probably take these out for 2023. I've tried so many different things with these and they're just not really working for me, if I'm honest. Next up, I've got a little plastic ruler that I use for my trackers or drawing any little lines on my daily inserts. I've got some circle dots that I use on my calendar inserts. So I'll show you what I do with those in just a moment. I've got a Sarasa clip pen. This is part of their vintage colours collection. And I can't remember the exact name of this, but it's essentially brown. I've got my Colour Cafe Rose planner magnet, as well as some paper sticky notes, because I tell you what, I'm kind of over the whole transparent sticky notes scenario. I bought a load of them because I thought they looked so beautiful, but the practicalities of actually using them, yeah, it's they're just not that practical, if I'm honest. You've got to have a special pen to use them. When you stick them on the page, because you can see through them, it just begins to look messy and confusing, and I just feel like it's an unnecessary thing. And I've seen, I'm not sure if it was Runner Plans or, yeah, I think it was Runner Plans. She was talking about the sticky notes and I'm like, yes, I'm so with you. Transparent sticky notes are just, I'm glad someone said it. Thank the Lord someone has said it. Transparent sticky notes are just, they're great if you're studying things and you need to be able to underline certain parts in a text and have a little note to go with that. But using it in your planner, for me, I haven't found a happy place where they actually work. So they are gone. I'm testing out some paper stickies and yeah, that's that. I've also got some journaling cards up front in these transparent pockets. These are scripture cards from Shamila Joy. I will pop a link below. I found her shop on Etsy and I just, yeah, they're gorgeous. I've also got a planner card that came from Colour Cafe with one of my orders. So I've got that there and a different one on the other side. Next up, I've got this vellum with the current calendar month on there, which just doing a bit of a layering thing over my Hello 2022 calendar insert. And this is where I use those circle dots. I found these on Amazon. Again, I'll pop a link to that below. And I just use those to highlight off the months. Name drop in again, Runner Plans. I saw her do it with dot stickers. And I just thought it looked very aesthetically pleasing in terms of a neat way of marking off your previous months, just so you can quickly see, here we are, I only need to focus here. I've also used some ring stickies to mark off some dates that I'm tracking. So that's like a really handy way of using ring transparent sticky thingies. I've got an inbox. Now, I've listened to the David Allen Getting Things Done audiobook a bajillion times at this point. And although I really love a lot of the principles in the book, one thing I didn't quite agree with was the implementation of it, where he says that ideally you need to have at least 2 days where you will not be interrupted, and you've got just a massive stack of plain paper, and you're going to essentially download all of the open loops. And the open loops are all of those little things where you're like, oh, I mustn't forget to put something up in the attic, or I mustn't forget to fix the blind in the back room, or I mustn't forget to book that meeting with such and such, or follow up on how things went with XYZ, or an item that I've bought that's not yet arrived. All of those open loops cause almost like a background, I guess, anxiety, because they're open loops, they're promises of things that haven't been completed. So I get that, and I am totally on board with downloading all of those open loops and reducing the mental burden. But I'm just not keen on this whole idea of having 2 days of uninterrupted time where you can do that. I'm a mum of 3 young children. I don't have that luxury. And there was just other little things around the like the flow chart of how you start to categorize all of those open loops. It just felt like it was easy enough to understand if you've got the flow chart in front of you, but it just felt kind of convoluted unless you've actually memorized that flow chart. And so I wanted a simpler way of implementing kind of like my own version of getting things done. So that's what I'm testing here. Not quite ready to share that, so we will just breeze past that. But my plan is to have an inbox close to the front of my planner. Next up, I've just got a little bit of a layering moment with some vellum over the top of a photographic dashboard. And then we've got my 2023 calendar, where over here, this is why these transparent sticky notes are a bit of a fail, because originally I had that stuck there, and it makes everything look messy. I can't see the dates, and yeah, whatevs. It's kind of a whatevs situation. So I've added in an additional photographic dashboard that's pretty much plain, so I can stick any sticky notes here that have future dates for 2023. I haven't got my 2023 planner set up yet, but I do need a place where I can log some of the dates that have already been thrown at me, as it were. Then we come to my quarterly inserts, and this is where I do my future planning. So what I love about these quarterlies is it's just 3 months on a page, done in a vertical a vertical column format. You probably can't see on the camera, but I've got the days of the week, the initials, just faintly for each of the days, so that if the dentist throws a date at me and it falls on a Monday or a Tuesday or what have you, I can be like, no, the kids have extracurriculars, we can't make that. And yeah, it just helps with future planning and making sure things aren't going to clash with things that you know, or you just know that no, Fridays are family days. That's no. So anyway, that's how I use my quarterlies. I've got notable dates on the back. Then we come to my daily section. So this is where I am changing things up now. So I've got my dailies, weeklies I am still loving. So yeah, the weeklies, I've got a week on one side. It's a horizontal layout. Really love this for doing a quick overview of the week. But I really feel like the dailies is where I'm going to start to really get things organized and get things done. Then we've got my monthlies. And again, I might switch this up and just have a month on one page, but do it so that I can separate the months for 2023, but we'll see. And then the last part of my planner is some trackers. So I've got my period tracker, and then I've got a monthly tracker where I'm just tracking habits that I want to stick with. I'm sorry, the sun's started coming out and we're like flooded with light, and it's quite low in the sky because we're heading into winter, but you know, it is what it is. I've got a mood tracker, some health things that I'm tracking. I was tracking my sleep until my fitness watch stopped working, so yay. And then I've just got some self-care things and some dates. For me, dates is like, have I spent one-on-one time with my husband, with my kids? Have we done things as a family? I just like to keep track of those there. And then that is it. I've got a dashboard at the back where I've just got a whole bunch of sticky notes for business things that I'm tracking. I've got a pocket for popping in little sheets of paper from some of the kids club or receipts, things like this. And then at the back, I've got my page lifter, which I'm kind of using as a dashboard for the sticky notes that I am no longer going to use. But back to these daily inserts. So my original plan with the daily inserts was to do a like a double page spread, so that I would have my daily schedule on one side and then this almost like a brain dump scratch pad kind of area on the other side. And what I loved about this and what really worked was that with these I could sketch out any on the dotted grid section, I could sketch out any little ideas for inserts, or if I wanted to fine tune any action steps for a task or a goal that I was working for on that day, I could map them out there and do almost like a bullet journaling checkbox kind of scenario there. I had a notes section where if I had a meeting, I can drop any notes in there or lists and things, and I could just have this bird's eye view of the day and keep it all together. But the problem was, although when I did use this, it was wicked, I loved it, there were days where I didn't need this. It was overkill. I wasn't using this right-hand page for notes, and it just felt like such a waste, because this was like a unit, as it were. And when you turn it out, well, if I go this way, when you turned it over to the next day, it's like, well, I can't carry this over for the next day. So although when I was using it as a double page spread and I was using both sheets, it was great, on the quieter days it kind of didn't work and it felt like a massive waste. So I've switched things up and I am now doing a back-to-back running daily insert. So it just goes from one day, you flip it over, we got the next day, the next day, you flip it over, and the next day. So I prefer that running order. So on the days where I don't actually have a lot going on that day and I may not need it, it doesn't feel like such a waste to yeah, I just don't like to avoid waste. That's the thing. I just want to avoid waste. But I knew that there'd be days where I definitely did want that brain dump sheet. So I've decided to keep it, but I've switched it up a bit. So rather than it being these two fat horizontal rows, I've switched it to two vertical columns. So I've still got my dotted line on one side and then my dotted grid on the other side. So if I want to do bullet journaling style checklists, action plan, or sketching out inserts or what have you, I've still got space to do that on one side. But if I need to do a shopping list or notes or what have you, I've got room to do it on the other side. And what I love about this is the fact that because it's vertical, I can fold it in half and I can still see my daily insert underneath. And this is the whole thing why originally I did it as this double page spread, because I just wanted to see everything that related to that day and the things that I wanted to get done and the extra notes and information that I needed to have alongside that day. If I'd just taken this sheet and used it in between my days, it would have just felt a bit awkward going from one day to the next, especially if the notes that I needed were actually on the back of, say, this sheet, but the day sheet was on the other side. Oh, it would have just become a mess. So I figured that I would do a vertical sheet that could become a half sheet really easily, so that I've still got everything that I need to hand. I can still see it. I can easily just flip it over and still see my schedule for the day. That was the most important thing. I can see the schedule for the day as well as any extra bits and pieces, and I can just fold it the opposite way when I need to use the other side of the sheet. If my day falls on the other side, so on the left hand page, you know, I can just slot it in and I can still see what's going on. It just, yeah, that made me really happy. So this is what I'm now testing out. Now, another thing that I've been testing out in my dailies insert, and the fact that I've loved these so much in terms of being a bit of a productivity tool, is the fact that I can sketch out all of my, well, not sketch out, note down all of the things that I want to get done for the day, and then start to look at how am I going to squeeze this all into this little sliver of time that I've got in between, say, the school runs. And I've just found that it really helps to keep me accountable. I can keep my planner open to one side on my desk and just see, you know, how am I doing for time? What am I going to be working on next? And so on. But one thing I will say that's been a total game changer in this daily schedule is having buffer time. So in between each of my tasks, before I switch to a new task, I have this half-hour slot called buffer, and this is the buffer time. So my first chunk in the morning, after I've done my quiet time, it's get the kids ready for school and out the door and make lunches and all of that stuff. And at the end of that chunk of that first part of the morning, I've slotted in buffer time so that I can gather my thoughts, get myself together before moving on to the next task. And I just feel like when we give ourselves that moment to almost like decompress, it can really help with, well, for me, it really helps with my mental well-being, because I'm not just switching from one task to the next, to the next, to the next, without giving my mental capacity, my brain power, my energy levels that time to just adjust to the next thing, to just have that moment to breathe and recenter myself, ready to take on the next challenge. So highly recommend adding in buffer time if you can. I know it's not possible for everybody. I have the luxury that I do work for myself, I do work from home, I am responsible for my own time, which is great in many senses, but in some respects it can be a real detriment, because if you aren't organised and hold yourself accountable with a daily schedule, you can kind of just drift from the start of the day to the end of the day and not really feel like you've achieved anything. But then there's also this thing of, if you just cram your day full of all of these tasks that you want to do, and say a task overruns, that can begin to make you really stressed out, because you're thinking in the back of your head, oh my goodness, I'm meant to be working on the next task and I haven't finished the current task, I'm never going to get everything done, and you just begin to pile up the pressure onto yourself. So having this buffer time just gives you that breather space where if things do look like they're going to overrun, you're not panicking, because you know, I've got my buffer time, it's all good. And if you get things done bang on time, then it's like, yeah, I've got buffer time to take a little walk away from my desk, to just chill out for a moment, just let my brain it's kind of almost like you're allowing your brain to idle for a moment, just to catch your breath, as it were. Now, I am working on getting these inserts into the shop. Once I'm 100% happy with them, they will be available to purchase if you like. But another thing that I'm testing out, and I'm always testing things out, if you saw my previous video, you know that I am big on this idea of treating everything as an experiment and making it a hypothesis of what you think the outcome is going to be. So I'm thinking of testing out the idea of offering bespoke planner inserts design. That's not really worded very well. I know a lot of people can design their own inserts, and there's plenty of things that people use, but I just feel like there's something extra that I can bring to the table. My background is a graphic designer. That's what my formal training is in. I have a degree in graphic design and multimedia, and a lot of that is around lateral thinking and problem solving. So I feel like I can bring an element of that to the design process of helping people take what they want to do and bringing it to fruition in a way that really works for you. So yeah, watch this space as I map out a route to that. Now, this wasn't a very quick planner flip. I am so sorry. I have kind of waffled, but I feel like I've given a good overview of what I've been doing, what I've been trying out. The sunlight has been coming in and dipping out and flooding my desk space, which is gorgeous to have this, but when I'm trying to film, it's kind of annoying. So I hope you've managed to find some little nuggets of gold within all of this that are going to really help you with your planning routine. And I shall see you in this next video, planner friend. Bye for now.